Have you ever watched a video of yourself giving a speech? And maybe you've thought the same as I've done a few times. Ooh, that was weird. I didn't even know I was doing that. Well, that's how I've felt several times, but one time in particular sticks out. When I was giving a speech for a Toastmaster open house, and I, not once, not twice, but 3 times hitched up my pants. And it wasn't because I was acting out some country hick character. I had simply lost some weight and forgotten to wear a belt. Now, my evaluator did not mention this. And if I hadn't watched the video, I would have been completely unaware. Whether you're aware of it or not, your body language can either enhance or detract from your message. And that's true whether you're in person or on video. Today, I'll focus on video body language with 2 main concepts: frame and face. Frame is how you gesture in the frame of the camera view. And face is how you use your facial expressions to convey emotion and connect with your audience. Let's first look at frame. Now, if you're teaching a yoga class or a dance class or something where people need to see your entire body, you will have to back up even further than I am. And the disadvantage is the further you back up, the less your face can be expressive to your audience. Most of us don't need to show our full body. So another option is to show the upper body in frame. And this is great if you're doing a Toastmasters speech where you have some body language or other presentations where you really want to be able to have the audience to see your gestures. Typically, this would be a presentation perhaps that doesn't have a lot of slides. One of the advantages of having the upper body is that your gestures can be very similar as to how you would do them in person. You can use gestures to indicate size. For example, it was this big, or I was a small child. You can use gestures to indicate comparison. Well, on one hand, but on the other hand, you can use gestures to indicate a count: 1, 2, 3. So pretty much anything you can do with your upper body gestures or even movement. You can move a little to one side or a little to the other side. You can actually move in close when you want to make a point. All of that can be pretty much done with an upper body frame. However, many meetings you are seated. So how do you frame your gestures in those kinds of meetings? I'm going to adjust my camera level and then sit down to show you that. So here I'm going to put my camera on my computer, move my chair back, and sit down. All right, this framing right here is what I would call from the armpits up, which is more of a head and upper torso view. And you have to be a little careful when you do gestures here because now you're much closer to the camera. And there are 3 kinds of gestures you really want to avoid. Number 1 is monster hands. Now you might gesture like this when you're talking to people, but if you do that when you're seated close, it just looks odd because of the distortion. Another thing you'll want to avoid is what I call fly-in hands, where you're gesturing at about waist level and your hands fly in and out of frame. It can be very distracting. And finally, you'll want to avoid what I call wild head, where you use your head a lot as you talk. In person, it might not be so bad, but on video, it's very noticeable, and you want to have a slightly stiller presence on video with your head. And when you do gesture, you'll want to gesture closer to the plane of your body, like it was this big, not it was this big. That just looks odd. Or if you're going to gesture with your hands, again, Try gesturing closer to your body instead of where you have the distortion. Of course, you can come in a little closer, and I actually prefer this as my default because I can now more easily use my computer. But your gestures are even more constrained the closer you come in. And of course, there's other considerations as well. There's your camera angle, which you want at about eye level. There's the lighting, which should come pretty much from behind the computer so it shines on your face. And then there are things like your clothing. You don't want anything too busy that will distract from your message. Let's look now at face. Your face is how you convey emotions and connect with your audience. There are three main considerations with your face. Number one, be congruent. Your message and your facial expressions should be congruent. The tone of your message, if it's sad, your face should be sad. And I'll give you an example. So a few years ago, I was listening to a friend give a presentation, and she talked about her foster mother throwing her down the stairs. Horrific, right? The only problem was that she was smiling as she told the story. It felt off. It was incongruent. So be congruent. However, my number two suggestion is to smile more, as long as you're not incongruent. Most people do not smile enough in their presentations. A smile will give you warmth, make you seem empathetic and friendly, and frankly, probably increase your attractiveness as well. So smile more. And the third concept is making eye contact. In a virtual world, you have to make artificial eye contact by looking into the webcam to give people the illusion that you are looking into their eyes. So notice the difference. If I'm looking at your faces on screen versus looking directly into the webcam. So make eye contact by looking into the webcam when you are speaking. Take these tips of face and frame and add in a bonus tip, and that is to record yourself so you can catch those things that maybe might get overlooked, like hitching up your pants, and add some interesting and effective body language to your next speech.